Hello and welcome to a video about comparing Uber and taxis in Sydney. So, as you probably know, Uber is a ride-sharing service that links passengers with private drivers. Surveys have said that about 1 in 10 Australians have already used ride-sharing services. So it's in Sydney, it works in Sydney, I've used it. I'm actually an Uber driver as well. So studies have shown that UberX is cheaper than a taxi around 9 times out of 10. Taxis are about 40% more expensive than UberX on average. The times that Uber is more expensive than taxis is when there's surge prices. So if there's a lot of demand in a particular area for an Uber ride, but there aren't many drivers, the price goes up and there's a surge of say 1.3, 1.4, which is 1.3, 1.4 times the normal price. Taxis show up quicker on average. That's because you have the convenience of being able to hail one down in the street. But when taxis are booked, they tend to take longer to arrive than an UberX service. So you can book taxis a number of ways. You can do it online, over the phone, hail one on the street, like I said before, and you can also use a range of apps to order a taxi as well. They accept payments via cash or credit card or cab charge. Uber operates completely in the Uber app on your iOS or Android device. What it does is it links up the passengers with private drivers who are using their own cars, driving around in their own cars. You can also book a taxi through the app, the Uber app, or you can use the more premium service, Uber Black. So an Uber Black will be a nicer car and they'll generally give you a nice bottle of water and it's a better experience, but obviously it costs more. So the app detects your location via GPS and connects you to the nearest available driver. The vehicle's approach can be tracked in the app, so you can watch the car coming towards you. And the driver's details are also sent, so you know the guy's name, you know his or her contact details. So if you need to find them or you're on a busy street, you can ring up the driver and talk to them. Payment is cashless. You've already entered your credit card when you've signed up for the Uber service. So this means that if you damage the car, you're also going to be charged to your credit card as well. So be careful if you've had a little bit to drink on New Year's Eve. If you need to cancel an Uber trip, you have about 5 minutes after the driver accepts before you'll be charged the cancellation fee. Uber actually takes 20% of the driver's cut of the fare. Uber's pricing is cheaper than taxis, so it's perhaps no surprise that about 89% of the time, Uber is being found to be cheaper than a taxi. For example, in Sydney, UberX costs 40 cents per minute and $1.45 per kilometre, whereas the taxi rate is 94 cents per minute and $2.19 per kilometre. Taxis go up to $2.63 in off-peak times, and there's also a $3.60 flagfall fee. Both Uber and taxis charge you $2.50 booking fee. At the airport, taxis will charge you an extra $4.10 rank fee to catch a cab, and I think it's $1 extra on an Uber fee at the airport. I found that catching a cab from the airport to my place in the inner west of Sydney costs around $60, but Uber will cost me less than $40. The cost is similar getting from the airport to the CBD. There are some fundamental differences in the way that the pricing works between the two services, so UberX won't always be cheaper. As I said before, there are the surge rates, but both use time and distance for calculating prices. When surging at 1.5x, the UberX doesn't turn out to be much more expensive, maybe 6% more expensive than a taxi, and sometimes it's still cheaper. However, surge pricing can increase well beyond these levels when there's intense demand. On New Year's Eve, for example, in Sydney, there's reports of trips that cost hundreds of dollars, which normally would cost $50. But you are warned about surge pricing before accepting a trip. It tries to give you an estimate of what the trip will cost before you accept the trip. Reliability can be an issue with taxis. They don't always turn up, and the taxi driver might reject your fare when you tell him where you want to go, whereas the Uber driver doesn't know where you're going when he accepts the trip. So that's all the information I think you need on Uber and taxis in Australia. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. We actually both been Uber drivers, so we have good insight into this industry. So hope you enjoyed that. We'll see you next time.